The information contained in this podcast is an expression of opinion and does not constitute investment advice. This is the Gold Money Foundation podcast with Alasdair Macleod, keeping you up to date with expert opinion on precious metals and the markets.
Hello, this is Alasdair Macleod on behalf of the Gold Money Foundation, and I have with me Pasha Roberts, who has produced a film, or is producing a film, called The Silver Circle. And there's even a website, www.silvercirclemovie.com. Welcome, Pasha.
Thank you for having us.
Tell me what motivated you to produce this film, and what is it about?
Well, sure. The movie itself is actually a fictional story set in 2019 about a heavy economic collapse and inside the U.S. and a group of rebels that are fighting the Federal Reserve, and one of the main ways that they're fighting the Federal Reserve is by making their own money out of silver. So it's kind of a alternative currency story wrapped inside of all the car chases and romance and all that. Our goal in this is really to create a piece of fiction, sort of in the spirit of Ayn Rand, where there's a message inside of it that in this case talks about the economy, talks about spending, talks about debt, talks about the nature of money. And ultimately that's what we get to in this is, the nature, the difference between fiat money and sound money. So, but in the process we've enjoyed the graces very much of the silver and gold community and have been into refineries and into mints and all that just to make sure everything is completely accurate.
So would I be right in saying that it is entertainment, first and foremost, but with an underlying message which hopefully will be picked up by a wider audience than those that attend conferences such as Hard Assets out of curiosity?
Right. It's although given my background, where my degrees are in economics and in financial engineering, I am very interested in making sure that the math and the scenarios are rigorous. So it's not a fluffy entertainment piece in that sense. All the prices and everything we've worked out quite carefully. But it's and I think it's a somewhat conservative scenario for us. Actually, we didn't do hyperinflation, for example, because that's just too.
That's beyond the stretch, I suppose.
Too strange for Americans to understand, where prices.
Too strange for anyone to understand.
So we just changed prices by 20 times. So we have I have $200 books and $110 beer and that kind of a thing.
Oh right. Okay, so yes, that's quite something. And we're talking about what, 2019? 19. Right. Okay. Yes, I think people can probably live with that concept. So what drove you to actually do this? Did you sort of feel that this is the best way to educate people? Was that where you were coming at it, or was it something that you just wanted to you've always wanted to do films and?
Well, I've been running an animation studio that focuses on economics and finance.
Oh, so it's an animated film.
Yes, it's an animated film.
Okay.
And so I've been running the studio for quite a while, and then when Lehman Brothers went down in 2008, we realized this could actually be a really interesting feature-length story. This could be really interesting, especially if we take it to the next crash or the continuation of the crash that happened there, the end of the delivering. So so that was really motivation, was seeing a interesting dramatic/educational opportunity inside of that. And it also informed us really that there would be a appetite for people to be interested in this kind of thing. And every year we're less crazy. I think 3 years ago when we were talking about the Federal Reserve, it was considered very strange. And thanks to Ron Paul and the
now
political
less
movement,
so.
yeah, we're less crazy at this point than we were.
Right. And the other thing that caught my eye on your stand is that you had some very attractive 1 ounce silver coins. You also had a smaller one. These are silver circle coins? Is it sort of part of the film, or?
Yeah, we basically decided to make the same rounds that are in the movie. So out of real silver, of course. And so we worked with Golden State Mint and we have a staff of designers, which is very helpful. So we designed a really interesting looking round that is in play, and a lot of people have bought them. And the little 10th ounce ones are really interesting too. And there's parts of New Hampshire and everything that these things are actually used as money. People transact in our 10th ounce rounds and other forms of silver for daily transactions just off the grid.
What, at the moment?
Now, yeah.
Really? That's interesting. So they're actually being used as money?
Yeah, there's actually a festival called Porcupine Festival that's in a couple of months where some of the vendors don't accept Federal Reserve notes. They only accept silver.
How wonderful. So this is coming on us sort of quite quietly without us noticing. So what role do these silver rounds play in your film? Do they replace paper money, or is it a supplement to paper money, or how does that work?
For one thing, we have what we call the Coin Act of 2016, which makes it illegal for citizens or anybody other than government to make money or hold gold or silver. This is not unusual. The same thing was illegal for gold in the U.S. not too long ago, within my lifetime. So it's basically a underground currency that the rebels make and use to gather support as their lifeline that they give out to the community in exchange for dollars. And in the movie we have people that basically show the impact of inflation. There's a person whose savings was wiped out, and at this point now, every time he gets a paycheck or a pension check, he exchanges it for silver right away because he knows it's going to erode. So we're really trying to show how the silver holds its value, whereas the dollar, especially in our future world, does not.
Right, okay. I can understand that. Now, you said that you read economics at university, and when you read economics, was it Austrian economics, or was it the conventional neoclassical economics? And
when I was exposed to it,
you had to be re-educated?
I had to re-educate myself, and I'm still doing that. But what they taught in the 80s when I was in university was pure neoclassical, and at this point it's somewhat. When I went back to MIT and sat through some of their classes, I just dropped out of the macroeconomic classes. It was just
totally irrelevant to anything which
to sit through. So. But the Austrian is really the right approach, and it's very interesting and has shown itself to go very well with what's happening.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I think, you subscribe to Austrian economic theories. I obviously subscribe to them as well. So I think it's sterile ground for us to go over that. But if we look at the role of gold and silver in this, I think von Mises made it absolutely clear in Human Action that the only money that works is that is chosen by society itself and not government. Mm-hmm. Now, that being the case, society has always chosen gold or silver. Do you see society returning to that means of settling transactions, settling the, if you like, the division of labor between them, and replacing fiat money entirely? Is that something that you see happening? Is that where we're going?
I find the alternate currency idea really compelling as a way to transition out of that. And I don't care if somebody makes if Walmart makes the currency, we were talking about that, and they can tie it to a basket of their own goods, that kind of a thing. I think most of the theorists that talk about this stuff, such as George Selgin or Larry White, and certainly going back to Mises, feel like given the competition, people will gravitate towards gold is even better than silver, just because there's no industrial use, no serious industrial use.
Well, it's a purer facility, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
Insofar as gold only has one function,
right? I mean,
and that is as a sterile asset, which retains value, mm-hmm. and you can hold as a means of retaining future consumption, if you like, till such time as you're ready to use it.
Right.
Whereas I think what you're saying with silver is that there are industrial applications as well, and that is slightly conflicting in pure theoretical terms.
Right. I mean, we chose it for the movie because it's more of a merchant kind of metal, and it's more divisible. You can buy a cup of coffee with a 10th ounce of silver, for example.
Do you think it's less emotive maybe than gold? Because sort of modern economists poo-poo gold as being something which, sort of old-fashioned and we've moved on sort of arguments.
I see no less poo-pooing about silver. I think the people who disagree that way would feel the same way about silver. And it's been one of my consternations in, my background is in quantitative finance, and inside of those circles, the people there just don't really understand the nature of money, and they don't understand the nature of gold or silver, except for as they consider it to be very volatile assets that...
silver is certainly volatile, but if you look at gold, there's no way it's been volatile.
Right.
Really, in the great scheme of things.
The last few years have really hopefully started to change their minds. More hedge funds have started taking on some more of that. But it's really an interesting phenomenon to sit down with somebody who is fresh out of MIT with their formulas and show them a round of silver, and there's something just doesn't compute there.
The look on their faces. That's interesting. Now, so the film comes out when?
We'll be out in August, September. So we're just hard at work pushing it through now, and we're figuring out theater details. We're aiming to get out into 17 cities across the United States, and then go across the pond. We won't neglect. I think Europe and Japan and Asia will certainly appreciate the animation style more. We're actually modeling our streets now in Washington, D.C. on what Greece looks like right now.
Oh, right. Well, there's quite a sort of classical architecture thing in Washington. I've never been to Washington, but I understand that, it is sort of pretty classical. So
I suppose. I meant more about the lines of people and the...
Oh, right. Oh, I see. I see. Sorry, I was thinking about the film set.
Yeah, no. So, although the film is actually, it is set in Washington, D.C., and it's actually matches exact places in Washington, D.C. So we have a map online that you can trace each thing. The car chase goes down this road and the mugging happens here, and it's quite accurate. We don't really take liberties so much with the geography.
It sounds to me like it must have been great fun to make, and it also sounds to me like it's got enormous potential value as an educational tool, probably as much after the event of the demise of paper money as before.
We'll look like geniuses then.
Yeah, prescient, I think is the word. Yes. Well, Pasha, thank you very much indeed. And how do our listeners find you? You're on Facebook, is that right, and Twitter and?
Yeah, we've got quite a following. Our main website is silvercirclemovie.com. So silvercirclemovie.com. There's a Facebook group by the same name, where there's over 14,000 people following us there from a variety of points of view. There's a very active Twitter. There's a very active blog, actually, on called @silverunderground.com, and we have different things on different days. There's Fed News Friday and Rebel of the Week on Wednesdays, and we started doing Tinfoil Tuesdays.
Sorry, what was
Tinfoil Hat Tuesdays. So
right.
So there's a little of everything on the blog, but it's all rather heavily traveled. There's also a full comic book for, I imagine many of your readers are not comic book readers, but a lot of our fans are, and the whole story is available in that format.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. Well, thank you very much indeed for taking time to talk to us, Pasha, and I wish you every success for the film, and I look forward to seeing it in Europe if I don't see it in America before.
Well, very good. Well, we're hard at work, and we'll work hard to please you.
Thank you.
Subscribe to the Gold Money newsletter at www.goldmoney.com to receive email updates on new articles, videos, and iTunes podcasts from our Gold Research section.